Yes, that was live. Hey.
Hello, everyone.
All right, y'all already know how it goes. I'm not going to start talking until we get people to like, share, and move the post over. So figure it out. Let me know. Um, Figure it out and let me know. We have a special guest coming on tonight. We're not gonna start this show until you like, share, tag a friend, tag your sister, tag your mother, tag somebody, so that we can get these views up. Okay. While we got everybody coming in, I'm going to go ahead and move the show on along because we don't have our special guest for only for about 30 minutes. So I want to be able to kind of get him in the conversation and get that conversation going before we lose him. Okay. So I do want to go into the advertisement. First and foremost, we are Rain. We have a part of Rain. We are Rain Outreach Team. Um, this is our platform called Keeping It 100. Thank you for joining. We thank you for watching. And thank you for tagging and being a part of the conversation. Before we go into anything, I'm going to let my cute and lovely panelists introduce themselves. So I'm going to start it off with Bryce.
Hey, everybody. My name is Bryce. I'm a peer attention specialist at Rain. So, what I do is that I get people who've been out of care, linked back to care. Also, if you're newly diagnosed, I get you into care within 2 to 3 weeks of your diagnosis. I case manage you for a year, and my goal is to help you learn how to navigate your care so that way you can continue your HIV care and remain retaining your care for the rest of your livelihood. And also to show you how to have a better, healthier life and healthy sex life. So if you need my assistance, please call the number down below. We also provide free HIV and Hep C testing, and we also give our condoms and lube.
What is
Thank you,
happening
Bryce.
here? Hi, my name is Patrice. I am the prevention case manager here at RAIN. I offer a program which helps get people onto PrEP for little to no cost with case management services with that. So that means people get back in school, resumes, jobs, transportation, food, anything I can do to help facilitate a healthier and more focused lifestyle for my clients is what I focus on. I also have Plan B and condoms and lube should anybody need some. Please feel free to give me a call or text at the number below.
Thank you, Patrice. So we all know who I am. I'm Johnny. I also work at Rain as well. A part of a lovely outreach team. We go out into the community, giving out condoms and lube, but also having healthy sexual conversations. Excuse me. Can you get down, please? Thank you. Having healthy. That's my dog. Having healthy sexual conversations with anybody that needs it. Please hit us up.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
Johnny, you're frozen.
Focus groups are trying to engage the Black community on PrEP. So we want to hear from you. I'm still issuing out a public challenge for anybody that qualifies for this conversation. So the purpose of this PrEP focus group is to allow the Black community to create a intervention, specialized intervention that works for us, by us. Historically, white people have sit behind their desks and create interventions to try to get us engaged in PrEP. We all know that that's not correct. So we want to hear your stories. We want to hear your success stories, your failures. How does PrEP work for you so that we can create interventions out of your story and help other individuals get on PrEP? So this is a flyer. It's a virtual. Right now we're doing it virtual because of the COVID-19. You can hit myself up. You can hit Bryce. You can hit Patrice and or Sean. Contact either one of us to be a part of that focus group. And or the in-depth interviews, which consists of the same thing. I also want to put out one of our sponsors, which is Crew. Crew is our sister organization, which Crew is for community resource and empowerment of wellness. They focus on substance abuse and substance usage as it relates to harm reduction. So the goal there is not to necessarily get a person to stop using drugs altogether cold turkey, but to kind of work at their own pace in regards to stopping and or reducing use. So, for instance, if you are using 7 days out of the week, instead of we telling you no, you can't use at all, we want to make a goal to where you only using 4 days out of the week. We applaud that. That is something that we applaud and something that we look forward to doing. So please, 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 if you are interested in that program, you can also hit Sean up or call the number listed there as well. Thank you. All right. So while my special guest is coming back in, our next week segment would be keeping it 100 would be prep education and prevention. So please be looking out for that. That's going to be a nice conversation and nice talk and a nice education portion to that as well. That'll be done by the lovely Patrice Marsh. All right. So, I want to take the opportunity to introduce somebody that I've known for a good little minute now when he stayed in Charlotte. So I'm gonna go ahead and read out his bio before I introduce him. So Brian Jamal is a love coach and a former pastor dedicated to use simple methods to empower ordinary people to find extraordinary love by falling in love with their everyday lives. As a love coach, speaker, and author, Brian seizes every opportunity to empower men and women from all backgrounds to overcome that hinder finding love from within and from others. From self-love to dating to relationships and marriage, Brian's love advice and insightful hints helps countless individuals achieve love in their life. Dedicated to helping and devoted to keeping it real, Brian's candid yet loving style attracts a versatile clientele, including notable celebrities, civic and social organizations, economic institutions, singles and couples alike who can and are ready to find real love. So before I bring him on, I do want to let you know that he also has a show that he does as a love coach. I've seen a couple episodes and I actually absolutely love it. Did it come up? Yes, this is a flyer that he has, Mr. Brian Jamal. That show is on Thursdays and Sundays. It is at 7:00 on Thursdays and at 6:00 on Sundays. This man is so awesome. He also has a book out called Unlovable. It is a 2-series book. The first one is called Unlovable. The second one is called Unlovable Reflections. I haven't had a chance to read it. I'm interested in reading it to kind of find out what it's all about. So please, please, please give a warm welcome to Mr. Brian Jamal. Byron Jamal. I said I don't know why I said Brian.
Byron.
I know why you said Brian, because you're in the South.
Right.
That's exactly
That's that Southern coming out, huh?
I get it all the time. Hey, Brian. I get it all the time. So, it's really my other name now. It's just my other name. It's okay. Glad to be on, everybody.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for taking the time to doing it. Thank you so much for taking time out your busy schedule to be a part of it. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely.
So today's segment, we're going to be talking about love versus poison. Kind of diving into what toxic look like and toxic relationships. Let the conversation kind of. When that happens, Patrice, feel free to.
Okay, I got you. So, Bryce, this is your topic. We're gonna let you open it up. You can, go ahead and start letting people know what exactly toxic is.
Oh, that's good. Toxic. So, I'll look at the word. I know that the topic that you have somebody else coming on is about abuse. I will define toxic in the realm of abuse because that's technically what it is. My definition of toxic and abuse are pretty much the same thing. Anything is abusive, not just physically, mentally, emotionally, but abuse is simply trying to fit something where it doesn't belong. That's abuse. Trying to use something in a way that it is not meant to be used. Have you ever played with one of those toys as a kid where it was like a big shape and it was open inside, had clear space inside, had different shapes all around it? And so you had the little blocks that you were supposed to put the circular block in the circular thing, and the square block in the square thing, and the triangle block in the, yeah. So trying to force the circle in the triangle is abuse because it doesn't go there. So toxic and abuse are really basically the same thing. If it's toxic, it is causing you to act out of who you are. It's causing you to abuse your own self, or it's causing you to feel emotionally, mentally, physically, even financially, like you are not in the right space. So, simply put, that's the most basic definition of toxic.
Okay. So I think one of the things that is pretty common is somebody to say, "Oh, you're being toxic," or "You in a toxic situation." How can a person really identify what does toxic look like in regards to I'm in a relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's my parent, whether that is my boyfriend, at what point can I identify and say that this is toxic to me? Like, how does that look like to people? Because I think sometimes people don't really know.
Yes. Well, see, that's the problem, is that everybody is so different. There's one person, like I have very unique friends. I can handle a lot of different characters. So for me, I have all types of people. There are some people who my other people outside of my friend circle would say, you're hanging with some toxic people. But see, I put it this way. If they cause you, if they feel heavy, and I mean that, if they feel too heavy for your life with where you are, with what you can handle, with what you want to do in your life, if they aren't encouraging, if they aren't supportive, if they feel heavy, then they're toxic for you. They may be great for somebody else, but toxic, there's not a particular type that is toxic, because you mentioned earlier about somebody who may be doing drugs 7 days a week. That same person goes down to 4, and now they used to be toxic for somebody, but now they're actually less toxic. And the person who can handle that is actually clear to be with that person. There are people who gossip a lot, and some friends can brush them off and be like, "Now get out my face," and that doesn't bother them. But the next person might really be that might be problematic for them. So you have to know what you can handle. And to define toxic, you have to know your own standards. You got to know what you want for your life. You got to know who you are, and anything that is beneath the standard or beneath the things that you want, then it's toxic, and you know that you need to move on. Another good thing to note there, though, is that if you are in a space where you know you want to get somewhere, like a destination, and you know you're headed to, let's say, New York. Everybody's down south, so New York. Then you want to make sure that somebody's not headed to Florida. That's toxic, because you're not going in the same direction as I am with my life. So you got to ask yourself, number one, do you know yourself? All right. Do you really know yourself? Because if you don't, you will have open admission on anybody and everybody in your life. Then you have to ask, is this person adding value and going in the direction that I'm going? Because if you're going in the opposite direction, there's no way you can really add value to who I am. You will be toxic, not because you're toxic, but because you're toxic to my end goal.
Patrice, Bryce, what do you guys have to say about that? Think about that.
Go ahead, Bryce.
Oh, okay. I would agree. I would think something that's toxic is something that doesn't bring you joy, or something that doesn't bring you some type of clarity. I think something that's toxic is something that will make you anxious and always on edge around the situation or the person. So when I think about toxic relationship, I would personally was more thinking about like emotional or verbal abuse, something that was more manipulative and something like gaslit. That's what I thought a toxic relationship was. But as I started looking into it more, I started looking finding out more different ways about abuse and how it could be toxic. But because now, for me, in my time, for my generation, we consider things that are manipulative or things that gaslit you as toxic. Trace?
For me, it is a matter of what makes you personally comfortable or uncomfortable. If you're in any situation that makes you question your personal values or the things that you hold dear, then that's not where you need to be. You need to get your ass up and leave, because it's not an appropriate situation. And nothing good can come from second guessing yourself just to make someone else happy. That's stupid. And you do have to know yourself, and you have to be at a level of maturity where you can push yourself and walk away from different people and situations. Because, just because you cool and we cool with each other, I don't have to be around you and we can still be cool. And that's what I think people don't understand, that when you take yourself out of somebody's cipher that is toxic, it doesn't mean you can't be friends anymore. It just means that I don't want you in my life on a regular basis to push that negative bullshit off onto me. I don't need that. I got my own shit I'm dealing with. This is a bag of cats. We don't need no extra.
So would you relate that to like your intimate partner, your friend, your family member? Like, does that relate to all relationships?
Everybody.
Different. Okay.
Everybody. Remember I told you before, I learned at a very young age, fuck people.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck people. That goes across the board. Across the board.
So we talk about identifying toxic as it relates to somebody else, but at what point can we look at ourselves and say, "Hey, I think that I'm becoming toxic to a person"?
Oof,
I think that's something that I have personally been struggling with as well. In regards to the things that I say, the things that the outbursts that I have. Sometimes I'm uncontrollable and things like that. And we say, and we put it in that category of, I love this person and this is the person that I want to be with and things like that. But am I causing this person harm? Am I doing, mentally, am I right for this person? And so trying to pull away from that, or am I toxic, is kind of hard to kind of identify whether or not, me and this person needs to be together. Am I toxic?
I think you could discover that you're toxic if you know that this person is conforming themselves for you, but it's making them unhappy. And you need to let them go and let them give them that, okay, like, maybe we're not compatible because I see that you're trying to change this about yourself, but it's causing you harm so you could be with me. And I don't want you to do that. Like a couple of episodes ago, we talked about how me and the person seek interest in each other and he wanted to open a relationship and I didn't want one. And then he told me, well, we could try it. So it was whether me try open a relationship with him or make him give up an open relationship to be with me. And I didn't want to do either of those things. So we had to separate each other. And
that's good. That's good. I mean, that definitely sounds like a deal breaker. Those are one of those defining moments that are deal breakers. I mean, open relationship versus monogamous is like, that's A or B. Like, choose one. There is no C. There is no both and. So yeah, I get that. That's that. I don't even know if that's toxic. That's just
real
nonsense. Now, for things that are a little bit less clear, like, okay, this person drinks a whole lot. You don't drink as much, but every time you're with them, you find yourself drinking more and more. Going out, they go out a lot. You go out a little. You find that you're sleepy for work now, and you're getting it super late, and a lot of your relationships are falling off. Like, those are moments when you start realizing, okay, if that's you and you're causing someone else to do that, you have to think about it. The way I look at it is light versus dark. And when you're having a light moment, and when you're having a dark moment. Your spirit knows, like, within, like, okay, I am off right now. Like, I am on 10 right now. All the ways that we phrase that, we know when we are not in the right energy. And so in those moments, if you're doing that, first of all, if you're doing that with yourself, you have time to check that. But when you have other people around you, you got to start documenting. I'm big on documenting. You got to start documenting the moments when you go off, and how often and when and what's the trigger, because those are things you can start fixing when you get toxic. When that dark energy comes in, you can start addressing it. Even if it comes in, you can nip it in the bud a little faster when you know what your triggers are. You can say, oh, this place is a trigger. Let me get out of this party. I'm gonna pop off. Especially if I have 2 drinks and a half, it's gonna be an issue because that person over there, I already don't like their face. So I know we're gonna have a hard time. You want to make sure that you are clear about who you are. And so that's why I like what you said about knowing. But to Patrice's point earlier about really being clear on who you are and what you like. If you don't know, then you will keep being a toxic person because you don't know what the opposite of toxic is. If you don't know yourself, there's no standard, then you really can have a free for all with your life. You can be as mean as you want, you can be as nasty as you want, and especially if you have people around you who think that's cute, then you will end up doing it more and more because now it's making you popular. You see a lot of these people online, they are extremely popular for being rude and nasty, and they single as hell. And there's a reason. All right, there's a reason why. That's cute on that's really entertaining when you try to entertain the masses, but that's not cute in a relationship. And so you got to be really like, I know they look back at some of their stuff and they're like, man, I wouldn't even date. I wouldn't even date me. And you got to play your stuff back. That's why I like to document myself. When I go off, I mark that down. I'm like, you know what? I had a couple of episodes today. I need to mark those episodes and rewatch those and figure out why. And so that's how I personally do it, and that's what I encourage my clients to do.
One of the things that you said, and it was so little and so subtle, was when you identifying that you're going out a little bit more or you drinking a little bit more that you normally do. I think that those little small things, people do not realize how much of an impact that plays in their lives. That red flag, and or you conforming to things that you wouldn't normally do. How those red flags kind of trigger different things, and those are your signs right then and there. People tend to miss those because, like you said, they are so small and minute that people don't kind of don't really look at it. Before I let you go, because I want to give you time to kind of set up for your show.
Sure.
I do want to ask you a question in regards to I have identified that the person that I am with is toxic. We've been together for 6 years, or whatever case maybe. I'm just throwing out a scenario out there. How do I get rid of this toxic person? Now we are codependent on each other. We live together. Bounce together. His name is on my car, and it's like we're now so codependent to each other. It's unreal. So like getting rid of that is like a problem. And I guess my question to you: what advice would you have for a person like that?
Absolutely. Other than death, which is a possibility. Which is a possibility for some people. Set it off. No, I would honestly say, I started using this analogy, and I find it to be very helpful. When people get into your life, you allowed them there. So it's like getting on your train, okay? Your love train. You allowed them on. You gave them a ticket. They got on. And I use this for breakups too all the time because they're on, and a lot of times things happen. Somebody wants to move up from the back of the coach. That's when you're getting started to the front of the train. They want to gradually move up. I always say people got to move up seats together. One person can't be ahead. Other person, they got to be in the same seats, moving up together. But when it comes to somebody, it's time for them to get off your train. It's not a moment where you have to kick them off. You just have to take back your ticket. And this is the reality. On an Amtrak, the ticket person comes by every so often just to make sure that nobody snuck on when they weren't looking. So I remember one time I was on an Amtrak, and I swear, I was just going from New York to Boston, and I swear 5 times I got checked for my ticket. And that is important. You got to do check-ins. I don't care. Each year you can consider a check-in. Every year you need to be making sure. Every day you need to be making sure. So you wouldn't get to 6 years if you checked in every day. But every day you need to be checking in, and you need to say, is this person right beside me? Is this the right person to have beside me? Because I'm going on this trip one way or the other. What happens is people forget it's their train. You start thinking that because this person beside you allow them to take over your ride. But baby, this is still my train, and I allowed you on to my train. So when it's time, when the ticket master comes and I realize you are no longer welcome, I take that ticket back and they will remove you. Now, the removal doesn't mean a removal from your heart. It means a removal from your space. That's why I like the train analogy, because I will never forget that you were here. You're in my heart, but baby, you got to go. And the going time is not a factor. See, the 5-year thing, I didn't even hear that when you said it, because to me, it could be a month, it could be a week, it could be an hour, it could be 5 years, it could be 20 years, it could be we got 5 kids and we got 2 dogs and a rabid cat. It wouldn't matter to me because my happiness is more important than time.
Peace of mind is priceless.
You can't buy it. And
Priceless.
I would rather end today what I know what is going to make me happy now than to wait 10 years and pray that it gets better. Because this is what people do. Because to your point, there's an underlying question to your point. Can I really break up? Yes, you can. Because that's really the question. Should I really break? Can I really?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you can. You can break up. And guess what? Most people stay in a bad relationship because they invested something. And that investment, they feel bad about losing the investment. They see the relationship gets better just a little bit. They're like, ooh, it's getting better. It's getting better. And they know they're still they hate it. They hate every day. But that little bit makes them feel good because I put this much time, I put this much energy, I put this much devotion, I put this much effort into it. And so I don't want to let it go, Lord. I don't want to let it go. I don't want to start all over again. And so they end up staying in something because of a little bit of progress. Baby, if they're wrong, they're wrong. If they don't have a ticket, get them off your track.
Period.
If you ain't know now, you know now today. Mr. Brian Jamal came on here and wrapped the house. I'm going to let him go because he do have a show coming up. That's like happening about to start. If you want to go check that out, you can go to his Instagram page at Brian Jamal. You can hit up his website at brianjamal.com. I do have that one across the screen.
Byron
and
Jamal.
His Facebook.
Byron.
That's what I said. I said Byron. Listen, I said that. I'm from the South.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure, y'all. Y'all are awesome. Keep doing this. I'm very proud of the work you're doing. It's still needed in the community. I hope to be back on with more time with you guys. Let's do it again, all right?
All right.
Thank you so much.
I definitely will. Definitely will.
Blessings, y'all.
Yes.
All right.
Want to add to that,
so let's get into some of these comments because
nothing is really worth your happiness. Let it go and start over. If you can get a house the first time, you can get a house the second time. You can get a car the first time, you get a car the second time.
You've been single before. It's all right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I still think that sometimes, and I love what he said because I definitely believe that and things like that. But I still kind of feel like sometimes it's better said than done. I think that it takes so much energy to kind of go through all of that. But then again, like he said, you wasting way more energy trying to fix something that you
beating
and you can kind of pick up and yes, that is true.
And plus, not all investments are good investments. Sometimes you're gonna lose money. You could get it back.
Right.
Who cares? Who the fuck cares?
No, it's just
I'm not getting ready to wake up every day with fuck the world and fuck the person I'm sleeping beside. Fuck that.
It's an analogy, damn.
Who's doing that? No, ma'am.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm sorry. So we pretty much kind of touched on a lot of different abuse, but one of the things that we kind of stayed away from on purpose was the domestic violence portion. Now, initially, we advertised you was going to have a domestic violence counselor to come online with us to talk today, to kind of dive into that a little bit more. But last minute, something happened. She's also a domestic violence first responder volunteer. So she's on the call when somebody calls the hotline. And I know she had to kind of be on that tonight. That takes precedence over this show. So she wanted to definitely go ahead and actually be a part of that. So we're going to talk as much as we can in regards to that. We do have resources that I do want to kind of mention out, which is Safe Alliance. One of the organizations that are right beside us. If you are in a situation where you feel like you can't get out, we can call either one of us and we can kind of direct you to the right direction and get you help. But one of the questions that I want to ask is, we talked about toxic. We talked about how that toxic can affect. You can be affected by that being toxic. However, it's still hard for somebody to identify what toxic is. So a lot of times I've heard people say, what abuse is, and toxic as it relates to abuse. And a lot of times I've heard people tell or give this advice to somebody, and what that advice is, you will know when it's enough. And
when it hurts enough, you'll stop.
However, I don't feel comfortable telling the person that because there has been so many times where enough has never been enough for a person and they have lost their lives due to domestic violence.
And you can't change that.
And you can't change that. No, you can't. But
you can't change that. I can't even begin to tell you how many friends I've had in domestic violence situations. I have been there, situations, police charges, court dates, to have them turn out on me because I'm telling them not to get back with this person, and they want to fight me because I'm not being a supportive friend.
But
fuck that. But if you want to be somebody's fucking beat bag, knock yourself out.
But that advice,
there are people who had enough and they end up getting killed by the abuser after the fact.
Yeah,
people
and
leave their abusers.
That is different. I'm talking about the people that have chosen to stay because they feel like they have not received and they, that quote or that advice that was given to them. What is a person enough? So at what point are we? What point is the advice changing from giving me tools, giving me signs to see what is my enough? Because a person may not know what their enough is. We're assuming that they
forced to a river, but you can't force them to drink, right?
Yeah, I could tell you mine enough. I just got to the point to where I felt like I don't want to be physically fighting the person I'm in a relationship with. It was a time where I thought because I was fighting my abuser back that it wasn't abuse. And there was a time where I wanted to report it, but when I went to go report it, they didn't see that as domestic violence. They seen that as because we're both men, we just get into fights. Like we're just two dudes who fight each other. So I had to get to the point to where I had to be like, I don't want to be in a relationship to where I feel like I gotta hit the person I'm with has to hit me in order for me to listen to them, and I don't feel like I gotta hit them back to let them know that that's not okay. So I had to say that for myself. But there was a time when I thought because I was fighting him back that I wasn't being abused. We were just fighting, and that was it. And I can't tell you when it was. It just came to me when it was just like, you know what? I don't want to fight anymore. Just get tired of fighting. So, I can't go to somebody and be like, you need to know when you had enough. I mean, it's really something within it's your self-resilience that you have to find within yourself to be like, this is not good. But then also people do understand that it's not good. But like you said, what if I was a woman who didn't have no job, who didn't have no education? We got 4 kids together. Where am I going to go? I ain't had no
but those are the hard decisions that have to be made.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally have never been in an abusive relationship because I live on a wish factor. I wish a nigga would. I live for that shit. Fuck with it if you want to.
Yes.
Shit will get real weird.
Yes.
So I don't understand. And for the life of me, I have worked on many hotlines and talked to people. And I understand the concept of growing up in an abusive household makes you more susceptible to being in abuse. For females, growing up without fathers in the household makes you more susceptible to abuse because you have this want to please men. There are a lot of situations mentally and personality-wise that kick you into, that can make you do that. But at the end of the day, you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot force them to drink. If these people don't want to leave their abusers, there's nothing that you can say or do that's going to make them do it. Nothing. And that it's truly sad and it's upsetting, but that is the reality.
Yeah.
Just like when you have an addict that doesn't want to stop doing drugs. Until they're ready to make that choice for themselves, nothing anybody else does is going to matter. All the interventions in the world are not going to change their mind until they're ready to do it.
Mm-hmm. I know people who still talk to the abusers to this day, like it's fine. Like, no, girl, it's not. Like, he used to be putting his hands on you, but just because you're not together, y'all can talk now. Like, no.
Yeah,
it's like
I've had
stability is that.
I've been in a relationship early on. I think it's my second relationship that I've ever been in here where I was in an abusive relationship. And I hid it from a lot of people. A lot of people knew because of, the scars on my face, or like he would fight me in front of his friends, or things like that. So a lot of people knew, but a lot of people didn't know. And I remember I was still in high school And I remember it got serious when my mother and my grandmother got involved because I came home and I used to have dreads, and like dreads was pulled out of my head. I had scars and stuff all over my face, busted nose, and things like that. And they called the police and whatever, things like that. But I still went back, right? I still wanted to be with this person, and things like that. At that time, I loved that person. I thought that was, for whatever reason, I thought that was love, and things like that. I went back, and whatever, and it even got crazy to the point where now, like, he's holding a knife to my neck, not letting me leave his house. We didn't live together, and things like that. And those were signs that I didn't pay attention to. Those are like, I'm already at this particular point where I'm like, this is weird, but I stayed, not quite sure why. And it wasn't until I actually moved out, got my own place for about a year, to where I was like, now my house is being destroyed because now he didn't live with me, but he would come over sometimes and spend the night or things like that, or spend the weekend, and things like that. But like now, the things that I'm purchasing are being destroyed. Now the things that I'm working my hard money for is being destroyed. And like that was for me, it was like, okay, this is enough. Like, you can go home to your place and live comfortably, and I have to clean the stuff up by myself.
Boy, you should have fucked this shit up. No.
But yeah, it wasn't about the back and forth. And to your point, right? You said something earlier, because I remember the first maybe year or so of being in that situation, I never hit him back. And I knew that I can beat him. I'm from the fucking hood. First, I'm from Earl Village. I knew that I can beat him. And things like that. But I would never hit him back ever. And the one time that I did was the last time that it was not one last time that he hit me, but that was the last time that we were in a relationship together. So you said something earlier about trying to be friends. So I was trying to be friends with him after the relationship, years and years after the relationship. I moved on. I'm another relationship out of another relationship. I moved on and things like that. So we met up we tried to have dinner and things like that. We in the parking lot talking, and it was very much just like the Ike and Tina Turner scene when at the very end of the movie when he came back and they were sitting in the car and they was talking. And she was like, I was wondering when the real, like, that moment happened for me. It happened to the T. So we were talking and things like that. And he was like, do you miss me? Would you ever get back with me? And I'm at a better place in my life now. So I thought. So I said, no, I would never go back. I would never take myself through that relationship. I would never take myself back through that. I still, you're a good, we can be friends and we can talk. You would never know why I stay. But I would never go back. I would never go back through that. Things like that. That set that man off. To where, like, it set him off. I got out the car and I even said it. I was wondering where the real so and so was gonna show up. And I swear to God, I even said it. So I even said it, and I got the door. And
it's a whole Lifetime movie.
It's a whole Lifetime movie. He gets out the car, my window's down, and whole live. Boop, boop, boop in my window, like, and things like that. So by this time now, you're gonna get this Earl Village ass whooping. I got out of the car and we fought. Then he tried to like get the knife and like straight my car with the knife. I bust his windows and everything. Picture this: bust his windows, get back in the car. I'm driving. He's chasing me from behind. We're running. We're going down Sharon Amity. And Sharon Amity and Shamrock, he's chasing me, trying to throw stuff at my car to break my window, things like that. So I got away, but I got away from going to a side street. But that was a result of me trying to befriend my
abuser.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I don't think that when I was in college, my boyfriend actually took me to see What's Love Got to Do with It in the movie theater, because that's when it came out. And, that was the movie everybody was talking about and everybody was going to, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, we're going to go to the movies. I was like, what are we going to see? He was like, well, I thought we'd go see What's Love Got to Do with It. And I just looked at him like, okay, if this is what you're signing up for, all right. Needless to say, that night did not go well for him. he the other Patrice that night. He did not understand. I have always been a super tomboy. My family that I've run with are all guys, and they are very much, no, this is not what we're doing, and you don't ever. So I've never been able to take that submissive role with any guy because I've always been such a tomboy, and I was always encouraged by the guys in my family to not take shit and to be aggressive.
Mm-hmm. But see, that's the thing. I was getting because I wasn't being submissive. Like, he was trying to make me be submissive when I wouldn't do it. So I guess he thought that was gonna make me submissive, but
yeah. When I was in college, I had a switchblade under my pillow, just in case they wanted to try it, and I had to pull it out a couple times. Just, hey, back up, bro.
So we talked about types of abuse, I guess, while we were teens. How would you describe a toxic relationship as an adult? Well, because Patrice, you said you never really been in an abusive relationship, and I, as an adult, I really haven't had a bad. First of all, I don't have relationships. I have situationships. That's a whole nother.
I mean, as far as as someone I'm intimate with, not so much, but I know a lot of manipulative people, and it gets to a point to where some people I can deal with depending on your level of petty. But you also have to have a strong enough personality to know what's happening and to nip that shit in the bud. Like, sometimes I let them, hey, go for you, do, say what you're going to say, and I just ignore it. But sometimes, you got to call them on this shit. Like, Nick, come on. That shit is stupid and inappropriate.
Right.
But, yeah.
Now, I think definitely, like you said, I think you said it definitely earlier today, Patrice, in regards to maturity and knowing yourself. I think that definitely helps. I do think that you can identify a lot of things a lot faster and a lot quicker. You're not so privy. You're very privy to the bullshit. But it takes time. And you can, and you can definitely see. I'm not going to allow this, but you're allowing some type of toxicity, some type of toxic situation happening in your situation. It may not be to extreme of what we're talking about, but toxic can be so minute that we don't even realize it, or we don't think that that's toxic, but it can be.
And there's always going to be certain things that's always going to be there, and it's just because there may be a toxic moment doesn't necessarily make your whole relationship or interaction with that person toxic. And I think that's important to make a distinction.
I'm so glad you said that, because that was one of the things that I wanted to ask Jamal before he left was is like what so let's not go from we together and we're going through relationship things and or having situations where may not be getting along at that particular moment, and put that in the same boat as toxic to where we need to break up.
Oh, you mean the difference between what's a real relationship up and down and what's not? Like, being hit is not an up and down. Being cheated on is not an up and down. Arguing about where we're going to live, that's the up and down. You making a drastic career change without talking about it, that's up and down. You buying something.
What's toxic is when...
Yeah.
What's toxic is when you call somebody out and they bullshit and they turn around and say, well, what about what you did last week? That's toxic.
Nigga,
you don't turn around anybody else's shit. Yeah, you don't turn around other people's shit to validate your bullshit.
Yeah, that
is a toxic behavior.
I'm toxic.
Johnny, you don't do that.
I'm toxic.
But it's good to have that realization and that moment with yourself. You have to.
Yeah.
Just like I had a client that, even though I felt like I could give them advice, I had to realize that wasn't healthy for them, and to get them the advice they needed from somebody who could walk their walk. I can't do that without my personal shit, and I didn't want to push that off onto them. And so I can understand you can catch yourself being toxic even when you're trying to help somebody or love somebody.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Most definitely. I think it's so hard. I think that one of the one of the like weird ones for me is the manipulation. Um, and because it can happen so fast and so weirdly to where you don't know what the hell is going on. How do I react to this? I think that is something that I cannot get past, is feeling like, because I know how it felt to in the past I've been able to be easily manipulated by past relationships, and things like that. And so when I see it now, that's the only thing that I feel like I lose control over myself, because when I see it, I'm going to call you out on it, and I'm ready to fight because I feel like you just tried me. That
This
is
is
one of
a
the
trigger
things.
for you.
That is a trigger for me when I feel like I'm being manipulated, or I'm feeling like that is one of my triggers. And that is something that I'm still having to kind of really talk myself through, talk myself out, and talk, and talk myself through those situations, because I tend to lose control. And that's the only time I lose control. I don't think I lose control with any other situation. I think I can
Calling
handle anything,
somebody
but
out for bullshit is not losing control. You do understand that, right?
no, but it's more than just calling somebody out. I lose control.
Okay.
Like I'm ready to
Okay.
I'm ready to start throwing stuff. I'm contemplating on hitting your ass. Like I lose control. I physically lose control. I'm yelling and screaming to where I'm losing my voice. I lose
Okay.
control.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah. It ain't yeah. I lose control. So that's something that I know at that particular point it feels like after I feel like the manipulation is being called out and I have lost control, I sit down and calm down. I feel like at that particular point, I have then became the toxic person, because I allowed myself to lose control, as opposed to as opposed to doing it. It's okay to call him out, like Patrice said. You supposed to. That ain't toxic. You calling somebody out, but how you doing it and allowing yourself to lose control can create the toxic, atmosphere, or can add to.
Turn your volume up, Bryce.
Can you hear me
Yeah.
now?
Okay. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
One time I was arguing with the guy, he got me walked out, and then 15 minutes later he texted me, "Why didn't you tell me not to leave?" And I was like, "Boy, what was I supposed to do?
What?
Like, what was I supposed to do? Like, no, stay. I'm sorry. Don't
That is
leave.
That's
funny.
All
like when you
because
arguing with somebody and they walk out and they want you to follow them and follow behind them, talking about where you going, come back, and no.
That's why I say again, I'm toxic. If I
oh,
walk out, you better follow me. You better follow me. If you don't follow
I'm
me,
not.
it ain't real.
I'm
Johnny,
not.
come on, man. Stop it.
If
You
I,
stop it right now.
if
I'm
I
not
walk out, you don't
following
follow me.
you.
If
I'm
I
not
walk
fighting
out and I
over
don't look in my
you.
rearview mirror
None
and
of
see your
that.
car, I'm done. No, follow me.
Bye. I'll text you. You forgot something. Come get it.
Oh my god.
I'm doing none of those things. Your shit is on the lawn. I'm blocking your number. None of those things.
somebody said. Somebody said, "I'm the same way. Follow me."
Michael.
Oh,
Ah,
that is funny.
I can't even do it. I don't even like. I don't like to argue. I am not
Yeah,
an arguer
I'm
with the
not at
person that
all.
I'm in a relationship with, because I didn't see that growing up with my parents. My parents would not
I was
argue in
gonna
front of us.
ask that. I was gonna ask
They
that.
wouldn't argue in front of us. They would take. I am 44. I've never seen them argue at all.
I was gonna ask. You think arguing in front of
Disagree.
yeah, I was gonna ask you. You think arguing in front of children is a bad thing or a good thing? Because
Yes.
my mother and my stepfather will argue in front of us, but my stepmother and my biological father never argued in front of us, but we still heard the arguments anyway.
I
So it's
don't think
like,
that you should have arguments in front of small children or children under the age of 18, because it creates a sense of divisiveness between the both of you. Now,
mm-mm.
as far as like a joint family unit. Now, if you in a bad relationship and y'all getting ready to get divorced, that shit goes down the way it goes down. But I think that it scars a lot of kids to see their
Yeah.
parents argue and fight a lot, because they start to think that that's what love looks like.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's that,
Mhm.
you know, just like people that are raised by, unfortunately, we tend to see this a lot in the Black community, females that are raised by other females and they all hate men
Yeah.
because it's just been constantly talked about their whole lives. That's all they've heard, how men ain't shit and I ain't with nobody and this is why I don't have no man and blah, 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 blah. Children pick up on that stuff.
Period.
Children are little tape recorders.
Right.
The fuck? You don't let no
And
man tell you what to do. No, I'm playing.
and you saying that, and also to add to that, you're saying it in front of a little boy
Mhm.
that is gonna grow up and feel like he ain't shit.
Mhm.
You said it
Or
in
Mhm.
you
front of a
look just like
boy.
your daddy, you ain't gonna be shit neither.
Shit.
All of that.
Right.
Yeah.
All of
Cause see,
that.
my mother, she never badmouthed my father in front of me, and she never badmouthed my father to me. So my mother didn't have to tell me that my father wasn't worth it there. He showed by his action that he wasn't worth it there. But she never
Right.
came to me and was like, "Y'all daddy, no, no, no." She never did that, and I'm
Yeah.
glad she
Right.
didn't do that.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
also
Mhm.
think that something Patrice said earlier that sparked something in my head. There was a time frame. Now my mother was I didn't my mother I did she was in an abusive relationship at one point in time. It didn't last. It wasn't like a major part of or it had a long time frame in regards to how much she endured or how much I saw. But I do remember that but however, that man was one of the man that her abuser was one of the best father figures that I've ever had throughout my life. And that's just, and it was so hard for me to digest that he is abusing my mom, but he's so good to me. Like he's so good to our family. I'm gonna say this, but I know I'm saying he's so good to our family unit to where he's raising kids that's not his. He's helping me with homework. He's doing school projects with me. He's like like he is disciplining me, correctly, things like that. Like he disciplined us and things like that. And he was so good with us, and to see him, hitting her or doing something to her, hurt her, I may start crying in a second. So, just bear with me. But to see that was weird for me because I love that man. Like, and I still this day I still love that man because he done more than what my biological father have ever done for me. And it was just weird. That was a weird kind of thing to kind
It's
of
a
see.
difficult dynamic when you look at someone who does all the things 9 times out of 10, then they got that one thing.
Mhm.
Right.
And
And
that's the
see,
one thing that
yeah.
is non negotiable, but also one of the worst things. Just like, it's fucked up to say, but you'll see people who are married and have these families, but you got the uncle with the good job, but he doesn't mess around with the niece. But nobody wants to talk about it because he's such a good man. And I
Mhm.
think that we have a problem with duality in our community because somebody can be a good person and do good things and still be a bad person. Martin Luther
Right.
King was great. He was still fucking around on correct on
Yes,
dating. And
girl.
that's
Right.
something that a
Right.
lot of people don't acknowledge because they don't want to smear his name or smear
Right.
his image. And I think
Right.
that it's hard for us as people, as well as a community, to be able to see that in people. Nobody is all good and nobody is all bad. I've known
Right.
murderers that have been such I've ever met. And I've also known preachers that are complete and total jackasses.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree.
See, my issue
I
was
100% agree with that.
my biological father was so mean to my stepmother, but my stepmother was so good to us, and I still love her to this day too. And like, but no matter how mean my biological father was to my stepmother, she still like defended him and stuff. So it was weird, but she was good to us. But it was just like, yeah. So I understand.
Yeah, one of the things that I've learned throughout life, first of all, I've learned a lot of watching my mama. One of the things I typically say a lot is that we kind of grew up together because she had me at a very young age. We grew up together, so but a lot of things that I've learned through her just by watching her. And she's a person. She's really like a lot like Patrice. She is in regards to she has no problem with picking up and going and starting over. I've seen her do it
Yep.
3 times.
Yep.
It's something that she don't like, she can't get with. It don't matter. I don't care. I got to
Hmm.
go. I'm not with it. And things like that.
Hmm.
And actually, the two relationships that were toxic and things like that. I had to get strength from my mom to kind of get out of that situation. Like me and my mama talked one 4th of July weekend when I was with my last relationship. I think we talked for like 6 hours, like nonstop. We talked. That gave me the strength to leave the situation, and it was just talking, and it was her talking to me about her experience. Gave me the strength to say, if you can leave with kids and the house is in your name and things like that, surely I can get up and leave, and I don't got nothing tying me down to this man. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, things like that is kind of
Yeah.
what people got to start pulling from and being able to kind of see, you know, I know it's embarrassing to talk about. It was very embarrassing. It's always embarrassing conversation for me, especially back then when I had a lot more pride than I do now. But it was embarrassing to talk to my mama about being in a relationship that was toxic and I wasn't happy in, and I'm paying all the bills. He's not doing it. Like, it was just so weird to kind of have that conversation with her. But it helped me so freaking much. So
Yeah.
yeah,
You ain't paying no bills. You gotta go.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. The only man I'm raising is my son, and that's it.
Right.
I can't.
um,
You gotta go.
Oh shit. Okay.
I can't.
But that completes our segment and conversation today. I think we went really, really well. I do want to go ahead and let you know next week we are doing keeping it real. HIV. I'm sorry. Oh my God. I'm so used to saying HIV 101. It rolls off the tongue. We're doing PrEP 101. PrEP prevention and medication.
Take your
Um,
pad.
if you're on it. So this is going to be, we're going to be talking a little bit more about PrEP. She's going to be talking, giving you more information about PrEP, answering questions about PrEP that you may have. That is this is one of the segments that we really, really need a lot of comments, to be presented. So if you're there and you're watching, don't feel free to type and ask questions. Those we will be paying more attention to the comments so that we can ask those as they come. She will be leading that. Also, to go along with that, I want to heavily advertise that we are still doing the focus groups and the in-depth interviews. So if you are still, so if you watch that and I don't get a influx of messages in my DMs, and Bryce don't, and Patrice don't, and Sean don't, I'm going crazy. First and foremost, uh, join the focus groups. I'm challenging you to be a part of the conversation, so that we can create interventions that work for us. In order for us to do that, we have to sit at the table. Like, we can't allow people to shape our future and tell us what looks good and what don't look good. We need to be able to kind of come to the table and talk those things through and discuss that, with each other, and create our own interventions, create our own story, things like that. So please create our own stories. So please be a part of those conversations. Um, if you are not on PrEP, you can join the focus groups so we can kind of discuss on why, look at what's hindering you. Again, I'm not trying to convince you to get on PrEP. I just want to know, what's up with it, why you feel the way you feel about it, what's stopping you. At the end of the focus group, you can walk away and still do not want PrEP. That is not my concern. My concern is to see what I can do to push PrEP further inside of the Black community. What Patrice can do to push PrEP further inside of the Black community. Now the interviews are worked a little bit different. The interviews are being done by Patrice and Bryce and some more people as well, and they are looking to engage, and they're looking to start a conversation with you for you to tell your story about why PrEP is working and or if it's not working. Again, neither one of them are going to try to convince you to stay on PrEP if you choose to not be on PrEP, or to get back on PrEP if you have chosen to stop taking PrEP. That's not the point of the conversation. We just want to hear if it worked, how it worked. What did you think about it? What your family think about it? What your friends think about it? That you've been on PrEP, vice versa. How do they view you differently if they did? And if you stop taking PrEP, what happened? Why? What they look like for you? Things like that. So that we can kind of work out ways to kind of make sure that don't happen to somebody else. So again, please join those conversations. Hit us up. Let us know what's up. Also, you can take a look at Crew as well. Crew stands for Community and Resource and Empowerment and Wellness. They focus on mental health and substance abuse. So please hit up Sean if you're interested in that. He is the point person for getting involved in crew. So without further ado, I'm going to let my panelists outro themselves out so that we can get this show on the road. Oh, before we outro, I'm so sorry. I want to thank, first of all, I want to applaud all of the organizations, companies that have worked hard within the last 2 weeks to make sure that we are off for Juneteenth. Thank you for acknowledging our holiday. I appreciate that so much. I'm not giving you a cracker or a cookie because it should have been something that was acknowledged in the first place. But I appreciate you
However,
acknowledging that
comma.
however, comma, we appreciate that you are acknowledging that. So if you are off tomorrow, I know that there's some protests and things like that that's taking place downtown. Feel free to live in your blackness. Feel free to live in your culture. Feel free to do what you got to do. So I just wanted to say that before we end it. Go ahead, Bryce. You go first.
Hey everybody, I'm Bryce. I'm a peer retention specialist at Rain. So what I do is that I help people who are HIV positive who've been out of care get linked back to care. Also, if you're newly diagnosed, I help you get into care within 2 or 3 weeks of your diagnosis. And my goal is to help you learn how to navigate your health care and retain your care. Along the way, I can help you with other resources such as housing, if you need food, transportation, anything that will help you stay in care and get into your care. And also, don't ever feel like you're in too deep to ever start over. As long as you're living, you can always start your life over, no matter what.
Thank you, Bryce.
Mm-hmm.
Patrice.
Hi. I'm pretty sure you guys know that I am the prevention case manager here at RAIN. I enroll people into a prep program that allows them to get the medication and labs and testing that goes along with that for either free or little to no cost at all. Also am part of the outreach team. We go out into the community and have conversations about healthy sexual behavior, making sure you're being safe as far as condoms, Plan B, different things that you can do to make sure that you can still have fun, but just be smart about it. So if you have any questions or problems, feel free to call or text.
And again, our special guest today was Mr. Byron Jamal.
Look at
um,
you.
and he has his own show that he does on Thursdays and Sundays as well. He's a love coach. So if you ever want to check him out and want to learn more about him, you can go to his own website, which is byronjamal.com, and check out some of his books and some of his content there. Thank you for watching, and you guys have a nice one.
Bye.
Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth.